Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you're brand new, I am so excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build. And today we are building a base game only home because on the 18th, which I think is when this video is going up, the Sims 4 base game will actually be free to everyone, which I personally think is super exciting. Yes, I've had this game since it came out, I want to say 8 years ago now, but I actually think it's really, really cool that this is going to be free for everyone to play. I love the idea of bringing in some more Simmers into this community and sharing this game with more and more people. I think it'll be really, really neat. So, given that base game is going to be free, I wanted to do a base game only build. And I kind of went big. It was a go big or go home moment for me because it might not seem it by kind of like how the house looks right now, but this is a pretty big house and it's really actually a pretty big lot. I want to say this is a 30 by 40. So this is in Willow Creek, which is one of the base game worlds. And this is where the BFF household used to live. I didn't build this house for them. This is actually a home for, I want to say, I think I did 2 parents, 2 toddlers, 2 kids and a teenager, so for 7 Sims. But what you could actually do is in the teen room, which is oddly enough on the first floor. I completely forgot about it until the end of the build, by the way. But yeah, I think it's on the first floor. You could put some bunk beds or 2 other single beds in there if you wanted, and it would be a great home for even 8 Sims. So you could have a full household on this lot, and I think have a lot of fun. There's also a fair amount of skill building items, though that is one thing that I always forget about when I start using a base game only, is just how limited you kind of sort of are with the skill building items and the different skills that your Sims can actually acquire. But I think it came out really nicely and I'm so excited to share it with you all. And let me actually say, you might see a build that looks like this in the near future that's not pack restricted. So let me just tell you a little story. So I have been working on a build. Okay, number one, actually, I know a lot of us will start builds and not finish them. I have like maybe 3 or 4 unfinished builds right now, and every time I go back to them, I just don't want to look at them. Eventually, I'll like them again, but I don't like them right now. So anyway, I have a build that looks very, very much like this. It's not pack restricted, and I think a majority of it is done. I just haven't gone back to it. And when I was thinking of what I wanted to build with base game, I just couldn't come up with any shapes that I liked until I saw that unfinished build. So I essentially made a base game version of it, which I think is kind of neat. So when I actually do post the non-pack restricted version, just don't be surprised that it looks very similar to this base game version, which again, I think is kind of neat because I do get asked fairly often to do pack restricted builds. I think I'm really bad at them. I can do base game or all the packs and there's almost no in between for me. I really have to try because I think it would be really nice to do some more pack restricted stuff, but I usually don't do one build that's base game and then another that's like non-pack restricted. It's essentially the same build. So I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool. But you can see that the shape is coming together. So there is a faux garage. And what's so nice is since this is base game, I just used the debug garage to make a faux garage. And I thought it looked really, really cool. I also really like the color scheme that I chose. I ended up using this siding. I think it's actually called like log cabin something. It's kind of a soft beige color because I really didn't like a lot of the other sidings that I typically gravitate towards for base game homes. I use the same ones over and over again, so I just wanted to change it up a little bit. And I also did use the tool mod, so if you are brand new to The Sims, if you're thinking about getting The Sims 4 when it is free, just know that the tool mod is a mod. It is a mod that you can put in your game if you play on PC, and it allows you to manipulate objects, resize them, move them, rotate them in ways that you can't do in the game as is. However, if you download this build, whether you are on PC or console, it's not going to be flagged for custom content. The mod doesn't like stay in the build is what I'm trying to say. So when you download it, it's going to look exactly the way that it does up on the gallery. I was trying to formulate how I was going to say that, but If you were wondering, I also use a piece of custom content that you'll see probably throughout the build. It's a red, almost transparent shelf. This is a piece of custom content, again, for PC players. However, it never stays in my builds. I just use it to raise objects to particular heights that I want them at, and it comes in really, really handy. So hopefully that doesn't like scare anybody off, and none of that stuff stays in the build itself. It just helps me kind of manipulate what's already in the game in really, really cool ways. So if you're brand new to The Sims 4 on PC, maybe explore that piece of custom content in that mod. I don't know. That's totally up to you, or kind of just get your footing and then figure that out as you go. But you can see that the shape is pretty much together. We did some of the landscaping, which I loved these shrubs from the debug menu so much. I used to actually really despise them because they looked really fake, but I kind of really like how they look now, and I can't explain why. But you can see here I did change the lighting on the lot because I think this is much prettier lighting. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of the lot. So I put the house off-centered because when it was centered, it just looked a little bit less realistic to me. I don't know. I feel like this lot calls for a big side yard, which I have done with a build or two before. I also thought about extending the house to make it like this really, really big, long house so I would have less yard to have to worry about. But that was not going to work for me at all. I didn't like the addition to the shape of the home at all, so I started to just fence in a smaller part of the yard, and I figured the rest of it could kind of be not entirely wild, but that I could have some plants and trees and things that blended with the world and just make it look a little less manicured than I was originally going for. I absolutely adore the trees that I ended up using. I think this is called a Japanese oak tree. Literally in the menu. I could be completely wrong, because we have a version of this in the build and buy catalog, but we also have two other versions in the debug menu in base game. So I can't really recall, but it's probably one of my favorite trees, and it's rather plump, so I don't get to use it super often. Another thing that I did struggle with was how to kind of frame this lot. The shrubs that I was using there just looked way too manicured. I didn't like the debug fence. So I decided, you know what, I am just going to add random little like clumps of landscaping to frame parts of the lot and not use a fence. That way it's kind of lined with the sidewalk, but it's not super enclosed. I think it looks really nice. And again, it looks a little bit more wild, a little bit less manicured. I think the shrubs are like the only thing that this family keeps tame if they do any kind of landscaping around their home. I really enjoyed it. I thought it came together nicely, and I used a ton of different greens for the shrubbery and the landscaping, which I don't often do. I typically try to keep a single shade of green, and I don't know why I do that. This is one of my favorite things about building with base game is it forces you to make different design choices than you might typically make when you have all the packs available to you. So it's always a really welcomed challenge for me. I think the interiors are the hardest part of a base game build, because I'm so used to having so many options for like couches or countertops. Well, that's not a good example. We don't have too many countertops, but clutter, beds, all that kind of stuff. Flooring even, I think, was a challenge, but I don't know. The exteriors are always pretty diverse from what I've seen a lot of people do. It's pretty amazing what people can do with base game. I'm not including myself in that. I've just seen some people make some amazing things with base game that I could never conceptualize, not even if my life depended on it. But I also used a lot of different terrain paints, and now we are moving on to the interior, which again is pretty big. I was a bit intimidated by how big this house actually ended up being. It's not like it's a huge mansion or anything, but there's just a lot of space on this first floor, which is typically how my builds end up being, or kind of being like laid out, is the first floor is huge and the second floor is significantly smaller. But I did use this flooring from base game. It's probably my favorite one. I love it in kind of this like darker multi-toned swatch, and I just went with a wallpaper, or even maybe just paint, I don't know what it's considered, with this nice wood trim that kind of matched, but it's just plain white walls. That way I could bring in any colors that I wanted to. And I used the tried and true, the best base game couch that we have in game, and I will stick by that designation. Best couch, and it's locked behind a career. What is up with that? Why? but I used my favorite couch, and it's kind of a long living room space, which was part of the intimidation. I didn't really know how to fill the space. I tried to put some bookcases behind the couch. I didn't like how it was looking and how it was laying out kind of like the left side of that room. And I tried to use some of these armchairs, but I didn't like it. So I put the console tables back because I really like having a shelf behind a couch like that, especially up against a wall, because I cluttered up with some books and picture frames and things like that. I thought it looked really homey and really lived in. I also tried to pair this couch with a love seat in game, but we just didn't have one that I thought would work. So I do put a chess table over here. So at least that's one skill building activity. So what, we have a bookshelf and a chess table already, and a TV. The TV can be a skill building item, but I wouldn't classify it as such. But anyway, that's already 2 skill building items, which is great. They do have this really pretty fireplace, my favorite base game fireplace that we have. And you know what? I haven't built a base game home in a home, not just like a base game build. I did a base game park, I want to say a couple weeks ago for a collab, but I haven't done a base game home in a while now, probably at least months, I would say. And I can't recall, we've gotten so many updates to base game since it came out, like 8 years ago. But we have so many more items now, and whenever I pull them out of the menu when I'm just limited to base game, I'm always surprised. I always surprise myself that we have certain things in base game, because I'm still sitting there being like, nope, base game only has X, Y, and Z, because I remember opening base game when this game released. I was up all night, number one. We didn't have pools. Did you guys know that? We didn't have pools. We didn't have toddlers. And what else didn't we have? I don't know, those are the 2 main things. I was really sad about the lack of toddlers, because that's like my favorite life stage. And pools, I wasn't too upset about pools, but I thought it was kind of odd. So we didn't have pools. I don't think we had ghosts either, which again is more so like gameplay related than build or anything. But yeah, we didn't have ghosts either. Is there anything else that I'm missing? I don't remember. But that is the red shelf that I was mentioning earlier. As you can see, I delete it after I use it, so it does not remain in the build again. So you guys don't have to worry about that if you are looking to download this without custom content or mods or anything. But I went nuts cluttering up this living space because I just wanted it to look very homey, customized. And I think that's another thing with base game, is there are kind of only a few certain styles that you can achieve, but you can pretty much mix and match a lot of base game and have it work, I think, really, really nicely. So hopefully you guys enjoy the pairings that I've made throughout this build and kind of the whole look we went for, because there isn't exactly a consistent color scheme by any means. I tried to keep a lot of the wood tones the same to an extent, but I didn't even really do that because you kind of have to diversify things a bit when you're using base game. But that is the living room, and then we move on to the dining room. Now that chair that I had out temporarily, no idea when that was added to base game. Literally 0 clue. I was worried that it was custom content because I had custom content in my game while I was building this. I was worried it was custom content and just wasn't flagged as such in the menu, so I didn't use it. So if someone could tell me when that was added, that would be great. I want to say it was a recent update, to be fair. I want to say it was a very, very recent update to base game. But here I am using the tool mod to turn this mirror horizontal. I love this mirror, and we only have, I want to say, 1 or 2 horizontal mirrors in base game, and I don't really like either of them, so I turned that one to make it kind of a new object in a way. And I didn't heavily decorate the dining room either. I used this table that was contributed to base game by Hey Harry, as well as that little bouquet of flowers, one of my favorite things, and that chair. I actually used a lot of Hey Harry's contributions to base game in this build because I love all of those objects so much. There's also a little console table, and then we have like a little fruit cake in a display on the dining room table as well, which I think is so cute. We got those with, I want to say it was some form of holiday update. I don't think it's classified as such with like an icon or anything like that, but I'm fairly certain it was around the holidays. And then this is going to be the kitchen. Now it's kind of an awkward layout for the kitchen because there is a bathroom off the back of it, which is a bit odd, but I really liked this floor plan and I liked how I was able to finagle things a bit more. So I do have very limited counter space in this kitchen, but it works. Your Sims will have a counter to, of course, prepare any meals and do anything that they need to do. There's, of course, everything else you need, like a fridge, a sink, a stove, an oven, all that stuff. But it was an awkward shape, so I tried to work with it as best I could because I really didn't want the kitchen to be either on the other side of the house or in the other room that's kind of sort of near the dining room. That I wanted to designate as a bedroom downstairs, and I wanted the kitchen to be closer to the entrance of the home. So this was the best place for it, and I think it worked out. I end up putting a small breakfast table here and then cluttering up the kitchen, and these are my favorite base game countertops. I love them so much. I use them in many of my base game builds, so apologize ahead of time. Change up the swatch if you don't like it. And I also took out these little aprons and I went to the debug menu. I did it off camera where I actually turned them and manipulated them, but in the debug menu, there is a mop and a broom that your Sims will just kind of whip out of thin air if they're like mopping up a puddle or something like that. But they're in the debug menu and I used the tool mod to rotate them and I made it look as though they were hung up on the wall on like little pegs, just like the aprons. I thought it was such a nice detail. I really tried to make this detailed with some debug items. For example, I did take this little plunger that's in the debug menu and I put it in, I want to say at least 2 or 3 of the bathrooms. Maybe there's one on each floor, I can't really recall. But I also took out like a little makeup palette from the debug menu and put it on like the mantle of the sink there just to make it look very customized, because I was envisioning that the teen wore a lot of makeup, so that since their bedroom is downstairs, kind of like right behind this bathroom, I figured that the makeup palette would be in here. But I really liked the bathrooms actually, which I don't typically say. I don't typically say that. I don't really care about the bathrooms that I end up making, but I really liked the bathrooms in this build. A lot of them are very, very similar, but they still felt very customized, which was exciting. And then we work on the garage, which there is a woodworking table in here, as well as an exercise machine, as well as some gardening pots, which I did use the tool mod to kind of turn, make them look a little bit less kempt and stacked. And I forgot about the telescope. I forgot that was base game. We have one that came with the Werewolves game pack, but there is one in base game. So I put that on the back porch, which is also great. So now what? We have a chess table. We have the bookshelf, of course. We have skill building when you have your Sims cook in the kitchen, like super exciting. Okay. We have the woodworking table. We have gardening pots, which there are some accessible, usable ones throughout the build. We also have the workout machine. So there's a fair amount of skill building and the telescope. So everything's going great. We also end up having a family computer too, so there's a lot to do in this home. But again, going through the debug menu to just decorate this garage, because we really didn't have too much to decorate it with. It's kind of a boring space, but this might be a nice spot for your Sims that enjoy woodworking or working out in peace to just kind of go in there and escape the rest of the family, because again, I was envisioning a huge family. Now the upstairs floor plan, let me tell you, it was rough. It was really difficult to figure out, but I did end up creating, I want to say 3 bedrooms upstairs, and there's 2 other full bathrooms as well as a half bathroom. The half bathroom is off the primary bedroom, which isn't super ideal. I would have liked to have put a full bathroom off of that room, but I didn't really have the space for it, so there are 2 full bathrooms that are accessible to pretty much anyone in the family. And there's the toddler room, the child's room, and the primary bedroom upstairs. And again, the teen's bedroom is downstairs. But this is going to be the primary bedroom. I end up getting rid of that window behind the bed because it was just so awkward. It looks a little bit weird maybe on the exterior, but I didn't really care that much. And I just wanted to make it super cozy and kind of like with neutral tones, like the browns and the greens and things like that. I thought it was going to look really nice. I was contemplating using that dang fan that we got with the latest update to base game. I just couldn't bring myself to use it. It did not fit the build. I think it's a really cute idea, but I'm also one of those people that I don't like using the decorations in game that have plumb bobs on them. I feel like it breaks that fourth wall. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it breaks the illusion that we're playing a game. I don't want the Sims to see the plumb bob and be like, wait a minute, why is that thing over my head all the time? Do you know what I mean? That's where my brain goes. Anyway, that was the primary bedroom. It came together very quickly. And then this is going to be the toddler's room, which is quite colorful, more colorful than I was anticipating. I was trying to make everything very matchy-matchy at first, and I threw that out the window very, very quickly because I kind of figured, you know what, all of these colors for kids' rooms can go together really nicely. So I loved this wallpaper. I loved the curtains. The little car toddler beds are so cute. They're so adorable. I really, really enjoy them. I also put a bookcase in here. There's that little like cubby storage thing for their clothes. It's technically a dresser. And then there's like the toddler blocks. And I want to say the tablet. I didn't give them like a little toy chest because there are some toys in other parts of the build. So, you know, technically they can just put them in their inventory and play with them whenever they want. So I didn't really feel the need to put a toy box in this space, but I just really liked it. I thought it was a really cute room. I loved all the wall decals. I loved being able to use, oddly enough, the trash cans that are customized to children. They have little designs on them, and I think I'm about to pull one out very, very soon. I don't use them often because why would I? But I also love them. So I put one in here. I also put one in the kids' room. And then we end up just kind of adding some toddler potties throughout the downstairs bathrooms and just one high chair in each dining space because high chairs are really difficult to use, to be completely honest. But the toddler potties, you want those in every single bathroom. I promise you, you don't want to have to drag the toddlers up and downstairs to use the toddler potties. It's awful. But this is going to be the kids' room. I got to use some of the artwork that we've had added to base game, which was so exciting. I love this little flower wallpaper. I made it very pink and purple, but again, I always do this. Even if I make a very themed room with like a particular color, this does not mean that you have to have particular gendered Sims in any of these rooms. You can do whatever the heck you want because you know what? Boys can love pink and girls can love blue, and I stand by that. Anyway, I'm like all jazzed up right now. I've got my morning coffee. It's a beautiful fall day. What is the weather like where you all are right now? Because where I am in New England, it is like peak fall. The temperature's maybe like 55 today. It's beautiful and sunny. There's leaves everywhere. Everything's orange and yellow and red. And it is so, so beautiful. I have like all my windows open. It brings me so much joy. I don't know if you could tell. I'm very excited about the fact that it's fall and that I'm not just sweating in the summer. I don't like the summer. I'm not a summer girl, if you've never heard me say this before. But I babbled through the entire kids' room and then we moved on to this little hallway. This is kind of the landing area with the stairs from the first floor to the second floor. I did put a family computer here, and the more I thought about it, I could have put it in another hallway that leads to the parents' room, but I kind of liked it here. I don't know why. It just made it seem a little bit more lived in and realistic. I kind of put a small seating area off camera, which you may or may not see in the screenshots because it doesn't really matter that much. But I added the family computer, cluttered it up. I added some artwork, some sconces, just to kind of make things a little bit more decorative. And then we move on to the teens' room, which is downstairs because I'd completely forgotten to decorate it at first. I completely forgot. I wasn't quite sure at the time what I was going to do with it. But it is a smaller space. I did give this teen a double bed. I was thinking they love the color yellow and they love to paint. They're really into art. So I did make this kind of like a little mini artist space for them. I gave them an easel. I gave them this little I gave them some blank canvases as decoration. Some sketches are like taped to the wall. I just think that they're really, really into art and things like that. So that was kind of the thought. Another skill building item. Would you look at that? Another one. And I love this bed too. If you're also wondering, this is an unlock from the painter career, though I can't remember which branch because I think there's like a critic branch and an actual like artist branch. I don't recall off the top of my head, but it comes with one of those. And then we go to the back porch, and I do add a small grill on the back porch, a smaller dining area, and just a few places for your Sims to sit. But there's going to be a big like fancy grill out in the yard as well. And I made that decision because I was thinking that if it was a nice day and you weren't trying to like escape the elements and you were just out in the yard grilling, you wouldn't want to have to go back and forth to the porch to get the food. Do you know what I mean? It would just be a waste of time in game. They also have a pool here. It's a pretty small pool, but I liked the space. And it gave me the opportunity to use that hot tub that we got a couple of years ago as an anniversary gift, if you will. I'm still salty about it. Look, I'm sorry, Sims team. Y'all are lovely. You are lovely. I love this game so, so much. That hot tub, I turned my nose up to that hot tub so fast. I'm so sorry. There were so many opportunities. You are forgiven because I used it and I like the hot tub, but come on, why? Why the hot tub? Why didn't we get, you know what I would love for a like Valentine's Day surprise base game update? I'm thinking about this more. Don't mind me swallowing. If you hear me swallowing, it's because I'm talking a lot, okay? This is just how this works. Anyway, I would love that heart-shaped hot tub from the original Sims game as like a Valentine's Day surprise base game update. Do you know how excited people would be? Like, do you know? Do you know how excited I would be for that? I would be beyond amped. I would be so ecstatic. But here is that hot tub. I do really like the swatch. It blended really nicely with everything else that I had, and I added an outdoor dining little area over there too with an umbrella and that bigger fancy grill. And I did kind of fence off a few different places, but it was looking a little bit awkward the way I had it before. So I did it this way. I added the monkey bars for the kids, and then I created a little like sandbox because the sandbox will work, I believe, with base game. So this has like a toy box, some other random toys, the dollhouse. So like I mentioned, there were a lot of things for the kids or toddlers to do. And then I do separate one more space in this yard for some gardening pots and just like a little bench, a little place to kind of just sit and enjoy the yard, which I thought was really, really nice. I didn't know how I was going to lay it out at first. I personally think that this yard is a bit awkward. I sent it to my dear friend Amy, and I was like, my least favorite part is the yard. And she was like, well, that's awkward because that's my favorite part. And I feel really awkward doing backyards. I feel like I suck. I feel like I suck at backyards. So I was a little bit uncertain about this space, but that is pretty much it for the build. I am so excited that you all stuck to the end. Hope you enjoy the screenshots. And again, The Sims 4 base game is free for everyone today, October 18th, because I've now determined that's when this is going to go up for all of you to see. So hopefully you all enjoyed this. I can't wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you next time I post a video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Attention to sound, the one that's coming from your mouth. Don't mean to turn it upside down. I really wanna hear you out. I can't know how it is to be where you so calmly sit. When I'm further my own, there it is, catching only part of it. To just be, to really see something other than just me. To lean in, look around, open up to the sound. If I could give you more than half an ear, if I could give you more than half an ear, I hit the brakes, throw stones into a quiet lake. What is it you're really saying? I turn the thoughts to little waves, space on either side of every single word I write. I found you in another line, notice all the time